Chapter 3 Scroll Cracking. While Edenthio was asleep, Titania was holding on to some scrolls she found while in the forest. She attempted to read them, but they were all written in the ancient nymph language. Thus, she went to go find Artemis, who was sitting on her balcony overlooking the ocean to the east, with a bright full moon illuminating the waters. Titania then put the scrolls in her handbag and joined her and said, "Thanks for saving me today." Artemis then looked at Titania with soft eyes while resting her chin in the palm of her hand and replied, "You're welcome." Titania then got distracted and pointed to the brightly lit night sky and asked, "What's out there beyond the waters?" Artemis then patted Titania on the head and smiled. "Curious little creature, aren't you?" "Thanks for the head pat. But I'm being serious. I really want to know what's beyond my own kingdom." Artemis then smiled and frowned as she said, "Out there's my queendom and some things I'd rather forget about." Titania then gave a gentle expression and asked with a soft voice, "What's wrong?" while gently putting her small arm over Artemis's shoulder. Artemis then held Titania gently as she said, "I just have some bad memories. Some things I wish I could change but can't. But I have to remain strong anyway. People need hope, Titania, and being the next in line to inherit my queendom doesn't exempt me from my responsibility to my people." Titania's eyes then widened as she asked, "Wait, you're a princess?" "Not entirely. I'm what you would call a chosen vessel to embody the spirit of Luna, but is not ready to take on that responsibility yet. I'm not yet pure enough to do so, nor do I have the spiritual strength to wield such power. But with enough training and wisdom, I'll be able to embody Luna's spirit and have her power flow through me. However, I guess you could say I'm a princess in the sense that I'm the daughter of the current speaker of Luna, Queen Paxura. But apart from that, did you bring something you wanted to show me?" Titania then hands Artemis the scrolls and asks, "Can you read what's written on these scrolls?" "I can most certainly try." Artemis then tries to read the first line, but she shakes her head as she says, "I cannot read this, although I have many servants who are nymphs and have learned a bit of their native language. The ancient dialect in these scrolls is far beyond my understanding. You're best taking these to Dr. Kitsune in the research facility, as his knowledge of ancient texts is far greater than mine." Titania then curtsied and said, "Thanks for your help anyway," before she went to Dr. Kitsune's living quarters. When Titania had arrived at Dr. Kitsune's living quarters, she heard the sound of Dr. Kitsune binge-watching anime as he drank Mountain Dew and ate Doritos. Then Titania knocked on his door, and the sound of the anime and eating stopped. Then Dr. Kitsune asked, "Who's there?" Titania then replied, "It's only me." Dr. Kitsune then opened the door with his fox ears perked up and his 9 tails waving back and forth, and said with an upbeat tone, "Well, if it isn't Princess Titania herself. I knew you'd come back for more awesome lectures." "Of course not. So what brings you to my place at this hour?" "I came to ask you for help with a research project." Dr. Kitsune then face palms, shaking his head and says, "Princess Titania, you don't need to lie to me. If you ever needed my help, don't be afraid to just ask. Now, what is it you're really here for?" "I just need some help reading what's written on these scrolls." Titania then gives Dr. Kitsune the scrolls as he looks at them intently as he says, "Fascinating. I will take these to my office immediately. If you wish to come along with me, don't feel discouraged. You could learn a lot from translation of these ancient texts." Titania then pouts as she grumbles, "I didn't come for another school lecture, but I'll go with you anyway." "Splendid. Now, let's get started." As Dr. Kitsune and Titania were leaving to go to Dr. Kitsune's office, the dark Neko mage Isis said to him, "Don't stay up too late. We have things to do tomorrow, nya?" Dr. Kitsune then took Titania to the lower levels of the castle to research the facility with a wide range of artifacts and experiments. Then he put the scrolls on the photocopier for translation and started running the translation program from the ancient language. After the translation had been completed, Dr. Kitsune's face lit up with excitement as he read the title of the first scroll as he asked Titania, "Where did you find these? I've been looking for these for ages. Don't you know how important this discovery is?" Confused, Titania asks, "I don't understand. What's so important about some dumb scrolls?" "These aren't any ordinary scrolls, Titania. They contain the secrets to a forbidden magic so powerful that it has been lost to time." "Then what kind of magic is this? Who has more magical power than the king and more knowledge of the magical realm?" "I don't know. I only know the legends about this kind of magic. According to some legends, this magic has the ability to influence the heart beyond physical means. As for what that means, I'm not entirely sure. Not even Isis, who is a master mage in many different kinds of magic, fully understands the riddles in these legends. Just by solving them gives me something to do. Mind telling me what you find?" "Of course not. In fact, I've sent you the translated files right now so you can read them in your spare time." Dr. Kitsune then copies the files to the flash drive and gives it to Titania as Apollyon enters the conversation and asks, "What are you two doing up so late? It's like 2 a.m. Dr. Kitsune then puts professional posture as he answers, "I was making an important discovery. It could potentially revolutionize how we understand the way our magic works and revive forgotten memories of our history." "Oh, I see. Sticking your face in a history book instead of remembering the time you lived through it. After all, you're like hundreds of years old, aren't you?" "Yes, I am, but there is still so much history and science left to be discovered. I can't just leave solutions to our current problems undiscovered and untapped and—" Apollyon then sticks his index finger in the air and interrupts Dr. Kitsune. "I can't wait to make them happen. You see, I'm a man of action, not one who sticks his face in a book all day and watches the world pass him by." Dr. Kitsune then glares at Apollyon as he says, "Well, I'm not one to make rash decisions. I try to get things right the first time I do them. Unlike you, I am not impulsive, and at the same time, I can't blame you for your hatred of King Azrael. I think we can both agree he hasn't been at his best ever since Queen Sylvanas disappeared that one night." Apollyon then slaps his knee and says, "That one night? Ha! Azrael was never great. To be honest, I have more respect for radical Vertok zealot than I do for that pathetic excuse for a man." Titania's face then turns red as Apollyon insults her father and yells, "What has my father ever done to you to call him that?" Apollyon then shrugs and tells Titania, "A lot to do with me, actually. Where I come from, we don't have royalty. To us, Azrael's no different than anyone else. The only reason I'm here is because my sister dragged me into this and the fact that Azrael and I go back a few years. But of course, you were too young to remember then. You still didn't answer my question. Believe me, if I told you the truth about your father, you would never see him the same way again. And I don't mean that in a good way. Anyway, he asked me to bring to him immediately." Dr. Kitsune then continues his work on the translated files as Apollyon takes Titania to her father. And then he reaches King Azrael's throne room. He dramatically and mockingly poses while asking, "How do you do, my highness?" with a fake British accent. King Azrael then glares at Apollyon and says, "Is that any way to treat your god king?" Apollyon then laughs at King Azrael and says, "Ha ha 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 ha! God King, aren't you forgetting I am the movie star everyone in this kingdom adores and aspires to be?" Azrael then grips his dark magic scepter glowing with purple magic energy as he says with glowing purple eyes, "You won't be so much remembered when I send you to the guillotine." Apollyon then poses elegantly as he monologues, "But who needs a head with a body like this? When I came to this kingdom, it just got 25% more handsome." Azrael then starts to summon purple javelins made from magical energy and warns Apollyon, "Continue to mock me and I will send these javelins hurrying towards you right now." Apollyon then continues to monologue as King Azrael hurls all the javelins towards Apollyon, at once with Apollyon only avoiding the javelins by milliseconds. Then Apollyon chuckled. "Looks like you caught me monologuing again," as he shoots Azrael with the harmless alpha beam from his finger. Titania then giggles as Apollyon's half-sister Artemis cracked a smile. As for King Azrael, he didn't take too kindly to Titania's giggling and sternly asked while glaring at Titania, "What are you laughing at?" As Apollyon noticed Titania was no longer laughing, he awkwardly said, "Looks like this comedy act is over. It's best if I get some rest for primetime comedy tomorrow. Until next time, Apollyon out." Apollyon then jetpacks out of the window as King Azrael mutters under his breath, "I can't believe the gall of that Zolshuren." Titania then said to him, "But you do have to give him some credit. It's not like Zolshuren clowns would understand our royal etiquette anyway." Azrael then stands up, holding his magical scepter in one hand, and says, "But the way that Zolshuren disrespected me is no laughing matter. I am the king, and he has no right to insult me the way he did, nor usurp my lordship over him." Titania's eldest sister, Rhea, then overhears King Azrael's conversation and asks her father, "If you didn't want him or anyone else to insult you or usurp your lordship, why then allow him to stay in your kingdom? And to ask a further question, why are you such an asshole to anyone who does something nice for you?" King Azrael then glares at Rhea with a glowing red hand. "That's because the only thing that is going to keep this kingdom together is a tungsten fist and fear. Freedom is merely a tool of the wicked ones, and I cannot allow the wicked ones to have the freedom to rule my kingdom. It is the wicked ones who worship freedom, and the wicked ones who killed my queen. For that, and the suffering they have caused my people, I have no mercy for them." Rhea then clenches her right fist, emitting purple fire, and says, "Father, this isn't right. This won't bring my mother back. Please stop this." King Azrael then summoned a purple orb in his right hand, and firmly says, "As king, I do what I must. You cannot stop me." Rhea then attempts to transform into a miniature purple dragon, and says, "And you can't stop me from fixing everything you destroyed." Rhea then tries to slug Azrael with a superheated poison dragon magic, but King Azrael unleashes a black beam of void magic into Rhea, which instantly knocks her unconscious. King Azrael then stands over Rhea's unconscious body and monologues. "So stubborn your kind is, but your kind has no place in my kingdom. If you were not my daughter, I would have slain you. Be grateful that you are, and that you live under my grace." Titania then whimpers in the corner of the room in the sight of her sister unconscious as Artemis tenses up with rage. Then Artemis thought to herself, "You're going to pay for this, Azrael. As a protector of young maidens, I will not allow this to continue. Do it again, and I'll shoot an arrow through your back and send you straight to Tartarus."